Hello everyone, welcome to The Inside. I am Gabriel NJINIMBOT. We are coming to you from our headquarters in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. Today, we are looking at what has been qualified as sit-tight leadership, identified as a threat to democracy, peace, stability, and the growth of several African nations, plus Africans or blacks rising to top positions of leadership in the United States of America after Barack Obama became the first black American president. Here comes another Obama type, so to speak, in the race of Congress. He will be the first Cameroonian in the U.S. Congress. Discover our guest in some few seconds. Our guest today, Gabriel NJINIMBOT, is running for Congress in the 4th District of Maryland. In 2014, he immigrated to America from Cameroon over 2 decades ago, starting out washing dishes at a seafood restaurant, picking bottles and selling them, and later became a database analyst and ended up working for local government as well as Fortune 500 companies. In the meantime, he attended Concord School of Law, opened a couple of small businesses, and published 5 books. And these are the titles of the book: From Mega Beginnings, The Power of Dedication, Persistence, and Consistency, How to Turn Small Resources into Big Dreams, Be Your Last Line of Defense and Your Naysayer's Greatest Surprise, The Art of Endurance, and Getting to the Top, The Secrets. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much for having me all the way from the United States. It's a pleasure to be on Equinoxe TV.
Right, you immigrated to the United States about 2 decades ago. Tell us how all of that happened and how you've been able to move up from the seafood restaurant where you were washing dishes through picking bottles and washing them to where you are now.
Well, thank you. It all started from a small village there in Cameroon called Balinyonga, and we were raised in a polygamous home. My father, who is of late today, may he so rest in peace, had several wives, and we were about 19 or 20 children. We grew up struggling a lot and spent most of our time in the farms, and my parents never had a chance to see the 4 walls of a primary school, but they sacrificed everything to ensure that myself and my siblings had some form of an education. Now, I personally went to Catholic School Bali for primary school, went to Self-Reliance Comprehensive College in Bali, and subsequently went to the University of Buea. I also went to GHS Kumbo with the help of my uncle, Ni Abed, or Mr. Abed Musi, he's popularly known as a teacher in GHS Kumbo. He's enjoying his retirement now in Bamenda. So with the help of himself and my family, I was able to go to the university, where I graduated with a second upper class degree from the University of Buea. Left from Buea, and life being as tough as it is in Cameroon, I decided to put some few francs together, bought clothes from Marché Kululu, and I sold it on the streets of the same university I graduated from with a second upper class degree. And after a couple of lucky breaks, I was able to come to the United States of America in 1999, where I did start off washing dishes at a seafood restaurant here in College Park, Maryland, and also picking up bottles and selling them to make a few bucks, and subsequently took a series of computer classes, became a computer data analyst. I was also a security guard here in Maryland in a couple of federal buildings, and I worked for Fortune 500 companies, including the district in which I'm running for, and Baltimore City is the 29th largest city in the country, in the United States of America. and opened up a couple of small businesses, went to law school, and now I'm running for the United States Congress.
That is quite impressive, and you certainly had to brave a lot of challenges, as you indicated earlier. You certainly had to look at a lot of, I want to say, ugly situations in the face, difficult situations in the face. What was your driving force when you were still here in Cameroon, and even when you traveled out to the United States and started with washing dishes, and then later on picking bottles, washing them and selling and so on? What was your driving force?
Thank you. My driving force essentially came from how we were raised, how we were brought up, and from my parents to my uncle and everybody in my family. We worked extremely hard as a struggling family. Like I mentioned before, my parents didn't have a chance to go to school, and we spent a lot of time working in the farms, raising cattle and raising pigs and fowl and planting a lot of crops. And the driving force was the fact that I wanted to see that there's a difference when I grow up compared to how I grew. I grew up there in Bali and in Cameroon. The driving force was to ensure that the same experiences I grew up as should not continue throughout my life. And also, I wanted to see that my parents, with the sacrifices that they made for me and my siblings and my stepbrothers and sisters, can enjoy some part of their life before they leave this planet. And so those things, coupled with the fact that I really wanted to succeed and help other people in the community, was what pushed me to come to the United States and not just sleep and wait. And even when I got here, the fact that the United States is the greatest country on this planet, I wanted to take the opportunity that I was here to make the most out of my presence in this country. And so I did not sleep. I made sure I worked several hours a day and not take a break. And so today I still have the same spirit to work every single day to ensure that the obstacles I meet in front of me, I could overcome them, because I just think that most obstacles are not here to stay. You can always overcome them if you put your mind to it.
Now, there's a perception about the United States, a perception of heaven, a perception of greener pastures. You said earlier that is the greenest country around the globe. Now, when you got there and you had to start by washing dishes, you had to start by picking bottles and washing them, selling them to be able to make money. How did you see that? How did you feel about that?
Well, I came to the United States with $100 on me. The guy who helped me facilitate my coming to the States, he's of late right now also, may he so rest in peace, Christian, gave me $100. When I got here, life was not very easy, and as most people think that life in the United States is made of is a bed of roses, it truly is not. If you don't put in the hours, put in the work, believe it or not, you could be homeless in a couple of days. But then my intention or my goal was to ensure that I succeed in America. Despite the fact that life is very difficult here, but there are opportunities here more than anywhere else. The fact that you could do whatever you want, if you put your mind to it, you could run for politics, for any office, without being afraid of being prosecuted or somebody knocking on your door asking you why, is what is special about this country. It's a country that gives you the chance to grow from grass to grace, but you have to put in the time. You have to pay your dues. You have to make sure that you are a good citizen for that to happen. It's not comparable to Cameroon or any other African country in many ways, but still there's lots of challenges here that you encounter when you move in the country and try to integrate in a society that is not known to you. It's not very familiar to you. It's a lot of shocks when you come in the first time in order for you to adjust. But that being said, it is a country with great opportunities. Otherwise, I wouldn't be sitting here today running for one of the most highest offices in the land, which is the United States Congress, and hoping to be a member of the House of Representatives in 2024.
Right, your story speaks volumes of hope and the possibility of succeeding for everyone, but that will certainly require some determination, some level of commitment to be able to brave through some of the challenging situations that may crop up on the way.
Running for this office is quite been challenging. It's not something I woke up yesterday and decided to do. It's been years of planning and, like you said, a lot of dedication. Now, the politics in America, it's mostly controlled by money. If you don't have the resources, you cannot run for these high offices. Now, it said it takes an average of 1.5 million United States dollars to run for a congressional run for Congress. Now, my case is a little bit different because I'm not that rich. I'm not a multi-millionaire. I don't have friends who are millionaires, but I do believe that determination is what is going to put me in this office. And also the fact that I have a core group of people in this constituent that are supporting me is what's going to put me in this office. The fact that my drive is unstoppable and with the support of everyone else is what's going to put me in the office. I work literally 12 to 15 hours a day sometimes to get things done in order to prepare myself to run the campaign. It is not very easy, but I think it's very possible because I'm very, very determined based on where I came from, based on what I have been through in the past 2 decades in this country, working 12 to 15 hours every day to get most of my things done. The small businesses I opened was not very easy. The law school I went to was not very easy. And the population I'm covering in this district is about 1 million people. And in fact, it's one of the largest districts in the state of Maryland. But I think that through determination and hard work and support that the people are giving me in my district, I will be able to win the Congress in 2024.
Right, we're going to talk more about that later in the program. We'll look at your priorities, but before that, I want us to come back to your home country and look at some of the issues happening back here in Cameroon, in your village, Balinyonga, in the Mezam Division Northwest region of Cameroon, and of course, in the broader perspective on the African continent. Now, the situation in the northwest and southwest regions, the armed conflict that's been going on there for more than 6 years is still prevailing. Killings are still going on, destruction of properties, abduction, and other atrocities are still being recorded in those two regions, and there is still a deadlock prevailing despite all the efforts that government has made so far and other stakeholders in the perspective of restoring peace and normalcy. What's your own opinion about the situation on ground?
You know, I would say that for the past 6 years, it's been a very, very sad situation, not just in Bali or the Northwest region or Southwest region, but for the entire country as a whole, because we were not used to this kind of lifestyle where people all of a sudden have to leave their villages and towns and go to different cities and start life from fresh. Also, the fact that we've lost so much life and property, especially the life of people whom we cannot get back, makes me very, very sad. And I always think about the fact that we could, not just me, but many people in Cameroon and in diaspora cannot freely go to Cameroon, or have not been able to freely go to Cameroon and go to the villages where we used to spend. In fact, where I grew up for 26 of my years in that village, I couldn't go there. It's extremely sad. I know family members and friends who I will never see again, and it makes it extremely sad. And I hope that it was otherwise, because at this point, life is very, very complex, very, very complicated. I mean, it was complicated even before the war started, but we had some peace at the very least. But now the peace is gone. No one feels safe or secure in their own compound or in their own homes. And I just wish it was otherwise. And I'm hoping that my winning the election next year would change the trajectory of the way things could go, not just in Bali or in the Northwest or in the Southwest, but the way things can, things can go in the entire continent of Africa, because my winning the election next year has an impact not just in the district I run in or the state of Maryland or the United States of America, but it would transcend to my home country, my home continent, and that's what I'm hoping for while I'm working very hard to win the election next year.
All right, a lot has been said about the way out of the troubled waters, the way out of the conflict in the Northwest and Southwest regions of the country. What's your take on how this problem can be solved?
I think that armed conflicts should be a last resort to solving any of the issues we face, because ultimately, and if you look at other countries, even developed countries, when they resort to guns and weapons to fight war, they eventually go back to the table, the negotiating table or diplomatic table, to solve these issues. I think that it's about time. 6 years has been long. We need to recalibrate and see how we can solve these issues without necessarily killing ourselves or killing our family members or losing property. Because at the end of the day, we are one big family, and we'll still go back to the table to see how we can resolve this issue. And my thing is, I don't want to see blood. I don't want to see any of my family members or my friends in Bali or in the Southwest region killed, because at the end of the day, peace is better than war, because life is better than death.
All right. Now we will take a look at what the newspapers reported this week in Cameroon, and after that we're going to talk about what is qualified as seat-tight leadership, which has been identified by some experts as the threat, a major threat to democracy, peace and stability in many African countries today. The press review by Immaculate Fugwe.
On the front page, the Post newspaper says, lockdown imposes reign of terror in the crisis-stricken northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon. Separatist fighters burn cars, kill 3, injure others in Boya. Explosion kills 1 and injures over 10 in Limbe. The Garden Post reports that the divisional officer of Kumba 3 cheated death when separatist fighters attacked his residence. The Dawn highlights a ban of the senior divisional officer for Fako Division on motorbikes within his area of command. The Horizon and Cameroon Echoes precise that the ban from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. comes on the heels of recent security attacks that killed 6 in Boya and Limbe. It is reported in Volcanic Times that a fixed cement factory has been dismantled in Kumba. Tom 4 barrister Nico Halley tells another issue of the Horizon that children can never be useful in a society without a moral platform. The Garden Post projects a fresh teachers' strike depriving students of education in 8 schools of the West region of Cameroon. In politics, the Median says the National Executive Committee of the Social Democratic Front SDF party examines the future of the party without the late national chairman Nijan Frunti. The reporter projects first Vice President Honorable Joshua Osi's ambition to become SDF national chairman. The paper and the Herald Tribune reports challenges no notably financial constraints faced by English-language newspapers, tabled to the Minister of Communication by the Association of Publishers, SENPA. National Daily Cameroon Tribune reports that the list of the 2023 Africa Cup of Nations AFCON participating countries is now complete after the indomitable Lions qualified after beating Burundi 3-0. Municipal Update attributes the Lions' victory to the excellent performance of goalkeeper Andre Onana. And about that, the Post says the Lions swallowed the Swallows of Burundi. The Guardian Post goes further to announce the presence of the indomitable Lions in Ivory Coast for the AFCON in 2024.
Thank you, Immaculate Fogwe, for the press review. We are still with our guest. Gabriel NJINIMBOT is running for Congress in the 4th District of Maryland in 2014. Now, let's talk about what is qualified today as seat-tight leadership. That is, leaders who are doing everything possible, things that are unconstitutional, things that are undemocratic, things that are unorthodox, like changing the constitution in a way that is not acceptable or democratic, and taking other actions to maintain their grip on power. This is what is happening in many African countries today. As a Democrat, what do you think about this way of doing things, sit-tight leadership?
Well, that's a very, very good question. One of the things I did sign up for when I became a candidate for United States Congress was term limits. I am a very, very strong believer in passing the baton to the next generation of leaders who are willing and able to work or run for office. Now, this issue is not just in Cameroon. Just so you know, in the United States Congress, we've had people who have been members of Congress for 45 years. Some of them are almost 80 years of age, and they're still running for office. I think that's ridiculous. And if you've been there for so long, there's a lot of young blood, lots of young men and women with strong energy and who are willing and able to work. So I think that if you serve your citizens for a certain period of time or a certain number of years, it is good for you to give a chance to the young generations who are coming up, because there's so many, tens of thousands of people who are willing, ready, and able to run for office and want to serve their own community or their country. There's no reason why people should stay there for 45 years. Like I said, it's not just in Africa, but here in the United States as well. There's a good number of members of Congress like Mitch McConnell and a lot of them who literally sometimes they don't know where they are. They can't even vote for the issues that's on the table. But there's a lot more people who are willing and able to work to run for these offices that are waiting to run. But these folks need to give people a chance. They need to give way for other people to pick up a paperclip, sign, and run for office, because that's how things are going to change, because the times have changed. The leadership we needed 45 years ago is not the kind of leadership we need in 2023, 2024. So it's about time for these folks to give a chance to us, to the young generation, because I'm sitting here, when I win the Congress next year, I'm not going to be there forever, because I know that there's a lot of people behind me, including my own kids and yours, who are willing and able to run for office, including the office of the presidency.
Like, how much of a threat is a long-staying power to democratic principles, particularly in African countries where we have leaders who've been in power for as long as 4 decades and are still doing everything possible to remain there? How much of this is a threat to democratic principles?
It is a threat. It is a threat to our socio-economic and political landscape, because, like I mentioned before, the times has changed. The times have changed. There are people who are willing and ready to work and have more energy to work. It is a threat to our well-being. It is a threat to our property. It is a threat to our environment. It is a threat to our economic situation back there in Cameroon, in Africa, and most parts of the continent, even here in the United States. And the other thing is, the longer people stay in office, the interest or the people they fight for is no longer the same. And I say this because most politics is controlled by money. And for the most part, those who have the money are not the ordinary working class folks or in and around the district or in and around the neighborhoods or in and around the districts. It's usually those big banks or big millionaires or those who are very wealthy, and they sponsor these people who stay in office for so long. And so that's how they take care or they cater for those big and rich folks, leaving the poor folks in the streets with scraps and crumbs to fight for. So it is a threat in every way you can look at it. And you've seen the example in Gabon and in other parts of Africa where people are rising up. You have young leadership coming up and saying, look, it is time for you guys to leave. Give us a chance to show what we can show what we can do for our country. And so it's about time for a change in perspective, a change in energy, a change in leadership, because it is truly a threat politically, socially, and economically, or in every way you can look at it.
Now, there's a school of thought suggesting that if a leader stays in power as long as he wants and is delivering in his assignments, is meeting up with the expectations of the people, improving the people's living conditions, pushing forth the development of the country, there's no problem with that. Do you think, is it the right way to go?
But say that again?
I'm asking that there's a school of thought suggesting that if a leader stays in power as long as he wants and is offering the services the people expect from him in terms of improving their living conditions, pushing forth the development of the country, and everything is going well, as was the case in Libya under the reign of Gaddafi, that there will be no problem with that.
I don't think so, because like I mentioned before, who are you? If you think that the best way for you to serve your people is to stay in power for 50 years, and all you need to do is look around and see who is happy about your presence or you continuing to stay in power. Look around and see what your economy looks like. Look around and see how your streets look like. Look around and see how many of your young generation are not going to school. Look around and see how many young boys and girls are on the streets of Douala and Bamenda and Kigali and other parts of African continent who are selling water on the streets to survive. Look around and see how many parents are dying because they could not go to the hospital. Look around and see how many potholes are on your streets. Look around and see how well is your economy doing. Look around and see how many people are leaving your country. That's what tells you it's about time for a change in leadership. That's what tells you if your constituents is actually very happy about your presence. And this applies here in the United States of America as well. There's people here who've been in power for so long, or who are in their 80s running, and every day the ordinary folks in the country, the working class families, is calling upon them to, step down and give a chance to other people. But if you cater to a very small group of very rich folks, in your mind you were thinking, I should stay here and continue to offer the services to my constituents. But the measuring rod or the way you can measure this is to actually look at your ordinary day citizens in your country and see how they're faring. Look, I've been to Cameroon several times, and when I get to Cameroon, I go down to the streets and I have videos of kids at Marché, the Marché Daido, Marché Kululu, and other little streets in Douala and even in Bamenda. And it's very, very sad to see that you have 7-year-olds and 10-year-olds selling water on the streets to survive. You have little boys and girls who should not be on the streets at all, selling these things or carrying somebody's bags for 25 francs. I mean, what is in your mind when you see these kind of things happening? And most importantly, what do you think the next generation of Cameroon is going to look like when we have more than 50% of our children are not going to school because they're on the street selling water or carrying bags or running around asking for money? What is the status of the healthcare situation where when you're sick, you're not even sure if you go to the hospital, you can survive? And so those things, when you put them together, you can see that the country is not really doing well, or the constituents are not really doing well. And then the school of thought that says, be there longer and serve the people longer because you think that they're actually doing well, and then you're going to start thinking about that more than once.
And as we speak, there are thousands, hundreds of thousands who have been displaced out of their homes from those two regions in crisis, the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon, and they are seeking refuge in different parts of the country and practically abandoned to themselves. Those who are in neighboring Nigeria managing to survive in one way or the other. What do you think should be done for this category of people in Cameroon, those who are also in other parts of the continent in similar situations?
Well, I know that there has been some level of help from the diaspora and other organizations, non-profit organizations that have tried to see what they can do to cater for these displaced migrants. And I can only imagine what these people are going through, including young children and women who all of a sudden unplanned have to displace to different countries or different cities. But here's what I say. One of the rule of government is to protect and preserve the welfare or well-being of their own citizens. Unfortunately, this is not the case. Well, I'm just hoping that one of the things we definitely need to do is to bring back peace into the country, bring back peace into the community, because it's really difficult for you to function and operate on a daily basis and live your life if you are not at peace. And then the fact that those villages are not easily accessible for different reasons, either because of the roads or the security issues, is one of the big hindrances of how these folks can get some help. So, I think that most non-for-profit organizations are doing what they can do to help the displaced citizens, but we really need to bring back some level of peace in the country, in the neighborhoods, in the community, because that's an encouraging factor for those who want to help to even drive water or food or rice or oil or anything that can help, or blankets, clothes that can help, put these people back into their homes, send their kids back to school, and things like that. We really need to bring back some peace back into the country. And I know that is a tough call. It's not a very easy thing that I'm saying that we could do, but we really have to start from someplace, because we just cannot live like this forever. We need to bring back some kind of peace in Cameroon, in Bali, in the Southwest, in all parts of Africa, because peace is the bedrock of every success story. If you're not peaceful in mind, there's really not much you can do. If the economy is not at peace, if people are not at peace, how could they make progress? So peace, peace, peace is where we should start from. And you would see that when that's done, a lot will just fall into place as a jigsaw puzzle.
Let's take some interviews right now, and after that, we'll talk about Africans, blacks, rising to top leadership positions in the United States of America. We'll talk about your Congress ambitions.
damage there.
The water swept away more than 20 bags of beans.
See the seed back.
Behind me is more than 20 bags of decomposing Irish potatoes. The financial cost I have incurred is enormous. The profit I have has been used to transport these bags to the other side.
Look at what's happening. Everybody is suffering. Look at us. Look at the people crossing on foot. This is terrible. Let the government look at us. We are suffering.
The situation has been aggravated by the backdrop of political maneuvers. On 2 occasions, they came here and planted explosives. And we want to say here that this bridge does not belong to them. This road does not belong to them. It belongs to everybody.
People are killed just because they refuse to accept what those terrorists present as a vision of this nation. We cannot accept it because we know very well that in a democratic context, if you want to present your own idea, you must also suppose that there will be people who are not going maybe to agree with you, but you cannot decide to kill them just because they are not sharing your own point of view. And we think that the state must do its best to protect our populations. I know that they are doing a lot, but there's a time where we cannot accept anymore that those people killing become for them a way of life. That's why at the level of UPC, we are inviting the government to use all the methods to bring peace back in the Northwest and Southwest regions. We cannot accept that some people decided to destroy this nation, destroy our living together, refusing school to our children. All those activities are against the development of this nation.
Welcome back. Gabriel NJINIMBOT, you're running for Congress in the 4th District of Maryland. Now, what do you think about the rising number of Africans who are emerging to top leadership positions in the United States, both in the administration, and you're running for Congress now?
There's some number of black people in Congress, in the United States Congress. I'm probably going to be the first Cameroonian to be to win the Congress in 2024 next year. But to answer your question, the district 4, which is Prince George's County, the largest district in the state of Maryland, constitutes largely of Africans and a lot of people of color. Now, the fabric of this district, when it comes to immigrants, it's a lot. It's been said that 44% of the immigrant population of this state is here of this district is here in Prince George's County. And there is been an increasingly rising appetite to get into leadership positions and get into higher offices because it just makes sense. I was talking to somebody last week who said that you winning the Congress in 2024 will make history. But I said that's not the case because Africans have already made tons of history. There's a lot of black people who've made history. It's just not being talked about a lot. But me winning the Congress and a lot of folks who are rising stars into government, into city council, into being into executive positions, it just makes sense because a lot of us constitute a vast majority of the working class families, not just in this district, but not just in the state, but in the entire United States of America. If you pick any of the professions, be it in the healthcare industry, in the IT industry, in the business industry, in education, a good majority of these people are Africans. And I have talked to tens of thousands of them. I knock on doors every single day, and it's very, very rare for me to knock on 10 doors without knocking on the door of an African, be it from Morocco, from Nigeria, from Cameroon, from Uganda, from all these African countries. They are immersed into this community, into this state, and a lot of them are aspiring to run for bigger office, for higher offices, because it's just about time we are part of the government that makes a decision about us. So I'm very optimistic about this, and I'm hoping that in the next 10 to 15 years we're going to have at least 25 members of that house that come from the African continent.
All right. What are your priorities?
Oh, I have a string of priorities, but it wasn't just my priority, but it's the priorities of the people in my district. And how did I know that? In the past couple of months, I spent 8 hours every single day, and I made 200 phone calls every single day. And so far I have made 7,000 plus calls. And in the list of critical importance is number one, education is number one. Now, the reason why I'm here today talking to you is because my parents sacrificed everything. My uncle sacrificed everything for me to have some kind of education, from primary through college. Now, if you want a prosperous economy, you have to educate its own people. Its people must have some form of world-class education. Otherwise, they will not be able to compete with the rest of the people in the world, with children from China, from India, from all over the world. So my priority is to make sure that we have a world-class education for our children, not just in this district, but in the state of Maryland, and it should trickle down to other parts of the country. And I'm hoping that the same thing could be for Africa, because we really need it. We do need it, and I'm hoping that the government can see this and spend more time, spending more money, paying our teachers more, empowering our educators, so that they can, it would transform into making our economy better as well. The second aspect, the second priority for me is safety. I want our neighborhood to be safe. People should feel free to go to and from work, be able to walk at night. And my third priority is making sure that small businesses, anybody who wants anybody who thinks and wants to open a small business, we should make it easy for them. Because in my district, there's a lot of entrepreneurs in and around the district, people who want to open businesses. We want to reduce the bottlenecks, the administrative bottlenecks, and make it easy for folks to think about business and open it. The other priority I have is taking care of our citizens, our senior citizens and our veterans. Those who fought for and bled for this country should be treated well when they come back from war. I don't want to see people, spending their nights on our interstate highways and bridges saying, or because they don't have money to any money to eat or place to stay. We want to eradicate that completely. We want to knock down all the abandoned buildings in and around the district and, rebuild infrastructure and open up after-school programs, computer programs, plumbing programs, electrical programs for people who want to take a break from college and rather do something that they can make money off of very quickly. We also want to make sure that senior citizens in our district should be able to have access to affordable health care and enjoy their retirement. If they're sick, they can go to the hospital and be able to get medication at a better rate, at a cheaper rate, and spend time enjoying vacation with their families because they work so hard. So that's just a few of them. I could go on and on and on, but that's just a few I have right now on the top of my head.
Right. You're also focusing on women's right. Can you tell us more about
Absolutely.
that?
Absolutely. We live in a time where women should not be told what to do or what not to do with their body if they decide to do. I'm not saying that the morals are gone, but people should be given the ability to decide what they want to do. And for the most part, women have been a victim of this specific situation where we, the men, could choose and decide what we want to do at any one point, but the women can't. The times have changed, and in this millennium, it has to be different. And so I'm advocating for women. I support them in most of the decisions they want to make, and I'm also going to be pushing for that while I'm in the United States Congress.
Now, in one of your statements, you said we can no longer settle for the status quo in our district. We can
Correct.
do better.
Absolutely. So the conventional wisdom has been that only the very rich folks or people who are well connected with Wall Street and multi-billionaires or millionaires should be the one to run for public office or higher offices. But that's been the conventional wisdom even up to today. And because of that, because of the people who sponsor the political campaign, they cater for those sponsors. And those of us who are below the poverty belt settle for crumbs. And it's been the status quo. It's been like that for decades. And most people think it's normal for them to just settle for what is they've been given. And I say no. This is the United States of America, the most powerful country on the planet. They have the resources to make anything happen. I mean, they send people to the moon. They send people to Mars. They're planning on sending people to Mars. We sponsor wars abroad, and so we need to get ordinary working class Americans to run for office because they understand what it means to be poor. They understand what it means to earn a minimum wage. They understand what it means to struggle to pay for their own bills, their mortgages, their car notes, send their own children to school, and hope that life is going to be better for them. So that status quo of only a certain class of people running for office must change. I mean, the Constitution of this United States says that we, the people, could form a more perfect union, and not some of the people could form a more perfect union by only some of those few folks running for office. That status quo must change, and I want to begin that by opening the doors and breaking the glass ceiling for ordinary working class Americans, immigrants alike, people who came into the country with nothing but determined to serve the country and care for the community to be able to run for such offices. So that status quo has to change, and I want it to begin as soon as possible. And so that conventional wisdom is gradually fading away, as you can see, rising young folks, both black, white, Hispanic, and African American, all people from all walks of life striving to run for political office, and I think that's how it should be.
What do you need from the people of your district, including the Cameroonians who are there, the Africans who are there, the Americans, all the people of your district? What do you need from them to push through this vision of yours?
So there is a notion that Africans or Cameroonians, most of them, even though they're United States citizens and eligible to vote, are not participating in the political process. And that is true to an extent. What I would need for Cameroonians, Nigerians, Africans as a whole, who are the United States citizens and not registered to vote, should do so and get ready to vote next year. Registering to vote is free, is online, easily accessible. And I'm saying this not just to the people in Maryland. Across this country, there are tons of us, but we are not noticeable, we are not noticed because we do not take part in the political process, including registering to vote, much less voting. So what I would need, or what I would plead to all or everybody watching, especially Cameroonians, or especially all our African brothers and sisters, if you are a United States citizen, check your district or your state website. There is a link there on how to register to vote. All you need is your ID, and it's that simple. Fill it out, submit it to the state, and they will approve of it. That's number one. Number two, I would like that we spread the word as wide as possible that I'm running for United States Congress and that people should support. The website, or my website, is GabrielForCongress.com. GabrielForCongress.com is the only GabrielForCongress.com. You will find it online right now. And there's a donate button there. We could go there and click on donate, and any amount of money would help to push forward the campaign because it's very, very expensive. And I think that's what I really want. And spread the word on social media. Tell a friend who will tell a friend who will tell another friend, and that's how the message goes out, so that we can get ready to, not make history, but make sense about the fact that one of ours is actually on the table when they're talking about us.
Right, you're the only Cameroonian who is going in for this the race now, and you said that the impact of your services, if you finally get into Congress, will not be limited to the United States, but will go beyond the U.S. to Africa, to Cameroon, to other parts of the globe. Concerning Cameroon, concerning Africa, what exactly are you looking up to?
Well, the simple fact that I came from Cameroon with nothing, born and raised in Bali, a small town, will be an inspiration to most Africans. Now, when I win the Congress, I would like to give back to my hometown, where I was raised, where I was born, and where I was raised, in however shape or form that giving back would be. I would be more than happy to do that. I truly think that me winning the Congress will inspire other people that wherever you are right now, whatever you're doing, even if you don't have money, you should not think that the world has ended for you, because that's how I was when I was growing up in Bali and in Cameroon and selling clothes on the streets of the university I left from, selling shoes and working in the farms, helping my parents. I didn't even think that there would be a day I would sit here on this screen talking on Equinoxe TV from across the ocean. And so there is a lot that I know I can offer for Cameroon, for Africa. I would be the voice of Africa in the United States Congress when I win. And I want that when that's done, I should be able to come home one time, my hometown, my home country, my home continent, and see what can be done, because there is truly much that can be done to effect a change in education, in health, in public safety, in inspiring our young or next generation of leaders, governors, prime ministers, even the presidents of the different countries in Africa. And I truly think, and I believe that across the continent of Africa, as I'm talking today, there are leaders watching me thinking, oh, if this is happening to him, or if he's at this point in his life where he's doing what was supposedly thought as impossible, then I can do it. If I'm the one who is on the streets of Kigali or Lagos or some street in Congo or Gabon selling shoes, that's not the end of my life. I can make it happen. And God, God being there also looking after us is not the end of the world. And I think that, like I said, when I win, my impact for Africa, the continent, will be very, very obvious and very, very impactful.
Barack Obama said, yes, we can. Gabriel NJINIMBOT, Democratic candidate running for Congress in the 4th District of Maryland in 2024. Thank you so much for your time.
And Barack Obama did say, yes, we can, and he did. And I say today, yes, we can do better, and yes, we will.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. That's it for today's edition of The Inside. Goodbye.